after their claims on medical expenses were denied.
Yeah, so the facts are kind of weird in this case. So I'm like, first of all, why was another company reviewing their claims, meaning World, what's it called, World Insurance Company? Why was Encompass even reviewing their claims? Like, it doesn't really tell us. I hate that because I'm like, I don't feel like I have a good grasp on the facts. Like, why were they like subcontracted by World Company Insurance to help because maybe their claims got backed up? I don't know. But we know that the plaintiff is ticked off because they submitted medical claims to World Insurance Company. It was denied, and they're mad at Encompass as well because they were involved in a decision that denied at least one of the claims under the policy. So, Attorney Lamb, what two charges were filed by the plaintiff against the defendant here?
The first count was bad faith denial of insurance benefits and breach of contract, and the second count was intentional infliction of emotional distress.
Excellent. Attorney Gross, what was the defendant Encompass's response to the plaintiff's claims? What kind of motion did they file?
Motion to dismiss for the lack of personal jurisdiction.
Excellent. Under the Mississippi long arm statute, right? Say yes.
I did.
Okay, good. All right. So I'm like, we've been doing so great. Say yes. All right. So this is a normal case. You have a situation where the defendant, again, is challenging whether or not this state of Mississippi has the authority to have jurisdiction over them to make them come and defend themselves. So can one of you read the Mississippi long arm statute? What does it require? I mean, what are the three prongs that it requires in order for Mississippi to be able to assert jurisdiction over you? If you just tell me the three prongs, that's fine.
The three prongs are the contract prong, the tort prong, and the doing business prong.
Excellent. Okay. What are the two ways personal jurisdiction is challenged in this case? We know one, the court they're saying it lacks personal jurisdiction over the defendant, right, based on the statute. And they're also saying that the jurisdiction over the defendant violates due process. So we're always going back to that fairness component that we consider. So with respect to Encompass's argument regarding the plaintiff's residency, what kind of beef does Encompass have? So Encompass is trying everything they can to say, look, we don't want to have to come to Mississippi and defend ourselves, so they go after the plaintiff's residency. What do they say?
Right, so Encompass was an Iowa corporation anyways, and then you've got World Insurance, that's a foreign corp who does some business in Mississippi, and then these plaintiffs were residents of Mississippi at the time that it accrued, but at the time they brought the action, they're now residents of Florida.
Yeah, so that's a big deal. He's like, look, they weren't even residents when the claim was filed. You know, yes, when the claim accrued, but when you actually filed the case, they weren't even residents. So this is an important case because it shows you that, you know, the judge has to decide a very important legal question, which is whether or not you have to be a resident at the time it was filed, or if it can be at the time the cause of action accrued, right? So how does the plaintiff, Attorney Gross, respond to the defendant's argument that, hey, you weren't even residents of Mississippi when the complaint was filed, so you can't sue under that long arm statute?
They basically just say that they were not residents at the time, but they are now. The cause of action.
Is that a very strong argument?
Very bad argument.
Yeah, it's a horrible argument, right? So what is the court's response in terms of whether or not they're going to support the plaintiff or defendant? They give us a great rule of law, which is what, Attorney Lamb, about residency? It's determined when.
Oh, excuse me,
Yep.
It's when it actually is filed as opposed to when it accrues.
Excellent. Okay, so it matters. That's a rule of law. Residency is determined when the action is filed, not when the cause of action accrues. So if we look back at those three prongs that Attorney Lamb mentioned earlier, do any of them apply, Attorney Gross, toward the contract or doing business prong?
The tort.
Okay, so they go after the tort prong to, again, attempt to establish personal jurisdiction. So what are the two torts that they're trying to establish jurisdiction under?
The tortious breach of contract, and then the intentional or negligent infliction of emotional distress.
Have y'all covered that in torts yet, the IIED?
Yes.
Okay, so when I was a law student, I thought that was the most bogus. I'm like, intentional infliction of emotional distress. I'm like, I can get a claim based on that if they intentionally did something to cause me emotional distress. Is anybody kind of surprised about that? I'm wondering why people don't try to use it in the terms of, I've not seen it used in terms of
Law school?
bullying. What did you said law school? Wow, You know, I have to be honest, that would actually be an interesting claim. You should, Above the Law, I think that's the website, right?
Yeah.
You should recommend like doing an anonymous blog with that, because you would have a compelling argument. Did you say it?
No, she didn't.
Oh, Elizabeth, so I'm giving you the
I'll
credit.
second it.
Yeah, but you can make a compelling argument in terms of the way that the grading process is. It's not the most efficient means of assessing someone's competency in that area. And so you could make the argument that it was just academic hazing. Like, I hate the exam at the end of the semester. I think it's like the dumbest thing ever. But that's just me. So yes, you could make that argument, but all right, I kind of set myself up for that. So we know that they are trying to establish it under the tort prong, as Attorney Gross said, tortious breach of contract and negligent or intentional infliction of emotional distress. How does the court, Attorney Lamb, analyze the tort prong? What do they say?
Right, so they decide that now they have to move forward and figure out if any part of the tort actually happened in Mississippi. And Encompass provides this affidavit that says, you know, we have no business here, no employees here, we have nothing here.
Excellent. And Attorney Gross, what do they say about where the actual tort occurred?
They said it happened in Iowa, not Mississippi.
Yeah, so this is not looking like a very good case here. Ultimately, the court in this case held that the defendant, Encompass, is not subject to personal jurisdiction, right, under the long-arm statute, because, again, the actual injury occurred in Iowa, not Mississippi, and the plaintiffs were considered residents of Florida for residency purposes, because, again, residency is determined at the time the parties, based on where the parties are domiciled or living when the lawsuit is filed, okay, not when the cause of action accrues. And so, pretty straightforward case, but I wanted you to see, because the cases in the book are typically abbreviated, but I wanted you to see how, what it looks like, meaning doing an analysis of being challenging a long-arm statute's applicability, and vice versa. So, any questions about long-arm statute, anything whatsoever? So if I test you tomorrow on this, everybody's gonna get an A, right? Yeah, I feel good about that. And like the ego part of me is like, I wanna like dust my shoulder off and be like, yeah, you taught that, but I'm not gonna do that. But I'm glad that you understand. So I can't believe it, we're actually done early, which has never happened this semester, because it's a pretty easy section. So enjoy the 15-minute retrieval, and I will not be offended by Jessica's yes. And I will see you all tomorrow.
I'm sorry.
I have other things I have to
Yeah,
do.
Patrick,
Sorry,
that's
for the
it.
next time.
Yeah, that's the only reason. Totally not serious.
Patrick, you know what I was thinking about? You know Fairy Odd Parents, where he's like, fairies! That's what it reminds me
That's the
of.
next one. I'm gonna do it. I'll do it.
Fairies! Contracts!
Parole evidence.
I'm about to go duck off somewhere. I gotta finish my argument. What's the Thursday?